Welcome to the Bionicle Inspiration Series. You know how it goes. We spotlight MOCs from across the Bionicle community to give you some ideas for your own stuff. Maybe you're looking to build a specific thing. You want to revamp some previously made sets, bring them into your own building style. Like, hey, I like Makuta. Hey, I like Matoran. Why don't I head over to the Bionicle Inspiration Series, look up that specific theme, and it can give me some ideas for what I can do when I build that specific something. And today, I received a message from some lovely builders, and they said, hey, we've got this cool collab. We'd love for you to do an episode about it. And I said, sure, happy to. So this is a brilliant collab by a bunch of different builders, kind of reimagining the G2 original Toa team. And they look fantastic. There's some brilliant MOCs here. So, hey, let's give some love to Bionicle G2 and see some awesome ways that these builders have revamped them. This first MOC here is by M Squid, and this is Tahu, Master of Fire. I love this. I don't know, there's something about this that really grabbed me. It just sort of hit me differently. It's a really clean, nice build here. This is quite a different way to reimagine a MOC. You know, I often say when I talk about revamping a set or something to apply your own unique touch to it, to drastically change it from the original, flip it on its head, make it totally different. And those have great credit. They're great ideas. We'll see that later in the episode. But I like this idea of keeping it as close as possible to the original, but very subtly changing things, or taking a piece that was one piece, and making it look like so identical, but you're using a bunch of other different pieces. And we see that specifically here on the lower leg. We'll compare the pair here. So cool. You know, it appears to be using some sort of smaller Technic panel pieces and some sort of like inverted slope elements as well. It perfectly nails the look of that sort of Hero Factory torso piece there that we used on Tahu's sort of lower legs there. It's really, really impressive. I just love how that looks. I like too that sort of the kind of torso and the shoulders as well. He's kind of spiced them up a little bit, sort of filled in some gaps, added some details and stuff like that still differs from the original, but still looks very similar. Just sort of refined it, cleaned it up a little bit. It's nice, you know. Typically some of your original Lego sets, all of them really, are built to be played with. So sometimes you have to sacrifice certain pieces so that it's posable, so that it moves, so things aren't falling off. At least with when you're building it yourself, you can not worry about that at all and just focus on aesthetic instead. So if you don't care too much about playability or posability, do whatever you want. And I imagine certain elements of that have occurred specifically kind of around the shoulders and the torso and stuff. It looks like there's sort of some system details and other things sort of filling in gaps, which looks lovely. So an awesome take on Tahu that's surprisingly different but very similar. So let's move over to the next one. This is Gali, Master of Water by Cordax. This is a bit more of a sort of mermaid take on Gali, which, you know, if you looked at the G2 Gali, I believe there was sort of things you could do with it to sort of take the weapon and sort of make it into a bit of a mermaid tail there. So certainly fitting, and even still, it's just a great aesthetic and a great idea for a Tower of Water, or a Master of Water, I suppose you should say. I love to, with this the little stand, you know, it's just one of those big sort of jet engine pieces that came on some Exoforce sets. Love my Exoforce. It's a very interesting piece there, and it's a sturdy enough big old piece there with enough connection points on it that you could build a stand like this. So it works well. The weapon, I like the weapon. Obviously, it's very similar to the original, but the fact that he put that yellow gully hook on there, nice, very, very subtle little throwback to the original gully, which I think is something to pay attention to. You know, obviously if you are revamping any of the Toa Mata in G1, in G2, how they looked in Mystica or Fantoka, you know, there's a lot you can play with all the different versions of the Toa Mata. There's many different looks. So if you are revamping them, pay attention to all the different looks. Can you take little notes from each of them and apply it to your MOC? Because I'm sure you can, and I'm sure it'll look really nice if you do. I love that there's a lot more kind of yellow thrown into this version of Gali, because the original did have some yellow, even if it was a little bit more subtle. And so bringing out even more yellow here is just, I think, a really welcome, really nice looking addition. It's really cool. So yeah, a fantastic take on Gali. Very, very well done. Let's move over to another one by Ron Folkers, and this is Pohatu, Master of Stone. I adore this. I love this, especially some of the poses that he's got here. Oh, and by the way, all these edited backgrounds, beautiful. I believe they were edited by Konstantin T. We'll get to him a little bit later. He did build a mock in this collab, but he did a very nice job. They look beautiful. I love just the whole like leg area here on Pohatu. Of course, Pohatu's thing was always, kicking, and that's sort of how he attacked and stuff. So I like that he's paid a lot of attention here to that, really adding in these pistons, which I don't think he needs those pistons. Often you see pistons on Titans and things like that to add some stability. I don't think it needs that stability. It's a bit more of a sort of smaller mock using more kind of prefab elements and stuff like that. I doubt it needs it, but the piston gives you this sense that it would extend, or that it gives it an extra sort of bit of oomph or something like that. It just sort of brings your attention to the legs and really makes them stand out more, which is certainly very fitting for Pohatu there. So I think that's just a very clever addition that probably wasn't needed, but just looks perfect and is very fitting for Pohatu's aesthetic. I love the inclusion of these trans yellow tubing elements. So these came on some I was going to say Space Police Classic Space sets. They are very lovely pieces. They come in a variety of different colors and different types as well. And they just really pop here. That beautiful pop of trans yellow is just gorgeous and complements the colors so well. And again, is pretty similar to the original version of Pohatu Master there. So that's so cool. And I love how it's just sort of neatly sort of fed into some of the natural holes in the legs. And it's also there on the torso as well. Just beautiful. Looks so nice. I love the lower arms too with those jet engine pieces. There's a beautiful sort of aesthetic to that. I don't know. It just looks really nice. It's just a clever little part use for that. So just really awesome. Love your work. This next one here is by Good Guy 2006, and this is the Lord of the Skull Spiders. Of course, one of the sort of villains, you could say, of the original G2 wave, and certainly a cool, unique set. I love seeing a version of the Lord of the Skull Spiders that has a lot more posability to it. The original one, of course, had that very interesting play feature where you kind of sort of push the back down and then the legs sort of jump up and stuff, so that it's kind of like an attack or some sort of way that it could look like it's scurrying or moving or something like that. And it was a cool play feature, but as nice as that is, it wasn't super posable. And sometimes, it depends. People like their play features. I always like play features on sets, but sometimes it can limit the look of the set depending on how it's built. So it's lovely to see a take here that just completely ignores the play feature. We don't need it. We can focus on posability and really make it more sort of traditionally look like a spider. Specifically so on the back there, the Thorax. I always like to just say butt because it's fun to say butt. The butt of the spider, the fact that he's also put the little itty-bitty trans-orange Hero Factory shell on the back there, very akin to like a redback spider, which is what we have in Australia versus, I guess, like Black Widows or something in America. Just the sort of placement of it there seems very fitting for that sort of coloration that you can often see on venomous spiders and things. In general, it's just, it looks so much more menacing. It's great to see it kind of crawling around in these images and sort of studying the front and, the underside, sorry. Very, very cool take on the Lord of the Skull Spiders, and just cool to see a mock of Lord of the Skull Spiders. We don't see them enough. I'm just trying to think of times when I've had a mock of this mock on the show. I can't think of many. Just lovely to see it, and I'm glad this was inserted into the collab. You could have just stuck with the 6 Toa, but it's lovely to see him here, so love your work. Very nice stuff. Great to see him. On to Lewa now, or Lewa, however you want to say it, and this is by MrMonopoly. So I think this is a very unique, very beautiful take on Lewa. I like the fact that he has given him this really slimmed down aesthetic, because when you build a plane or things that can fly and stuff, you can't have too much weight on it because obviously it weighs it down and it's going to struggle to fly. So I like seeing these limbs be really stripped back. It looks like some sort of glider or plane of some kind. It's just very appropriate and very cool. And I like the fact that his hands, or his whole arm, I suppose, is the sort of wing for his sort of flight mode, quote unquote. That's a great idea, and the fact that the hands are attached to those larger sort of like wing pieces, very akin to like a bat or like a wyvern, dragon of sorts and things like that. Just very appropriate, and it works well. Sure, you could have given him a jetpack, or like he was with his Onowa version, blades that also sort of double as wings. That would have worked, but this is such a more unique way of doing it that you don't really see every day. And, you know, doing stuff that you don't see every day, that's just a great idea to sort of follow that route, because if no one else has done it, it's going to make your mock really stand out and make it even more awesome. And it's a great concept here, so very, very cool. I like too that he's included some of those sort of grass pieces there in lime on the torso, and there on the legs as well. He is, you know, the master of jungle, so makes sense that he'd have some sort of jungle themed accessories on him. I don't know if accessories is the right word there, but you know what I mean. So yeah, awesome. Love that addition there. On to the next one. This is Onowa by Shubi4000. I don't know, there's something I like about this. I always liked the fact that when they did G2, they made Onowa slightly bigger, bulkier, and like a sort of bruiser type character, whereas his original counterpart kind of wasn't that. He was a little bit more sort of like lanky. And that's great. I love both versions of Onowa. But I like the fact that this is kind of following in the sort of a traditional Bionicle route of everyone looks exactly the same. They're just a recolor with a different mask and different weapons, more or less. And so I like the fact that this one isn't as sort of physically different as the others and actually kind of blends in a little bit more, just because it's different to how G2 looked, and it's a bit more of a callback to G1. So fitting, you know. Again, I like all the different takes of Onowa that they did. Onowa's always been one of my favorite characters from the Toamata. But it's just a bit more refreshing and interesting to see a G2 version of Onowa in that style. It's really cool. I love just kind of this general waist area here. It almost looks like he's got like a wrestling belt on or something. And using those interesting purple, like, panelly triangular pieces, whatever they are, they work well as little sort of like a little like waistcoat thing or something, or a little sort of like thigh armor. It's just nice to see those pieces being used. They blend very well with CCBS. It's awesome to see. Yeah, great to see too how he's sort of laid out the purple and the gold. There's something about it to me that just feels slightly different to the set, and it's just a good way of just sort of spacing out those colors. You know, I do always find that interesting how people space out the colors in their mocks, because, you know, it's just interesting kind of color blocking and different things like that. It just brings me joy. So a lovely take on Onowa, very cool to see. The last one now. This is fantastic, easily my favorite of the lot, although you all did a fantastic job. But this is by Konstantin T, who we spoke about before, who edited all those pictures, and this is Kopaka. Well, I love this. This is a beautiful take on Kopaka. So much to talk about with this. I love the inclusion of some cloth elements, specifically on the front of the waist there. This is a very unique cloth element that came on like one of the kind of like Chima battle packs from one of the last few waves of Chima. Really unique to see. I like that he's kind of covered up the sort of saber-tooth symbol there, just because it doesn't necessarily fit. But just a little bit you can still see kind of looks like icicles or something, so it's very appropriate, very cool. I love too the inclusion of kind of like a fur pelt around his sort of shoulders and neck and stuff, and the introduction of dark tan into his color scheme. Those colors just flow perfectly into one and the other. It's gorgeous. And the kind of general aesthetic that he's kind of given Kopaka here seems very similar to like some sort of winter bandit, or just sort of other kind of like attire you would see on a sort of like medieval fantasy, sort of snow-faring, adventuring person. It's really perfect for Kopaka. I think it works very nicely and is a very different take on Kopaka. He's normally sort of more kind of like knight-like is often how I see people kind of revamp the character. And so to see him more like this is so perfect and so cool. The weapon's nice. I like that it's sort of got all these rubber bands, I believe they are, in white sort of wrapped around it. It looks like he's had to kind of make this weapon just from the resources he found out in the wilderness or something. So it's really nice. Another thing that's really nice is the eye design that he's got going on there, really sort of expanding out that scope even more and making it look fantastic. And the this funky waist design using those bucket handle pieces, that just looks gorgeous. There's a lot to love about this mock. It's been very, very nicely done. A brilliant take on Kopaka indeed, using a lot of cool cloth elements and really departing from the source material, but in all the right ways. So lovely work. So great job to all these different collaborators in this awesome collab. I think you all did a bang-up job, and it's lovely to see G2 stuff getting some love, because G2 was awesome. I love G2. So fantastic stuff. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you very much enjoyed. If you have a collab yourself, feel free to reach out to me with the submission email, or if you just have any mocks that you've made and you want to submit them to the show, that's the email to do it through. It's in the description below, or it's on your screen right now. Whatever you need, you can do it that way. Also in the description is links to all the mocks you saw today, so go follow these builders, check out the stuff that they've done or other things that they've built, and give them some love. In the description below is also links to my social media, so you can check that out if you so please. There's also my Patreon in the description below, so if you'd like some bonus content, that is a place to check out. And additionally, there is my PO box. If you want to send anything my way, you can do it through that. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you very much enjoyed, and hopefully we've given you some inspiration for your future builds. Thank you, and good night.